What's up everybody, and welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Johners. This is episode 68, and we usually do our weekly recap of NXT and NXT UK. This week's a little bit different. I've dropped the NXT UK. I might do a separate show over the weekend to cover the wonderful hour of NXT UK action from Wednesday night. However, this week's edition is just to cover NXT, its first 2-hour live show, with hour 1 being broadcast on the USA Network, hour 2 being live on the WWE Network. Going forward from the 2nd of October, we all know that it will be going live 2 hours on the USA Network head to head with AEW's Wednesday Night Dynamite, but this week we're just going to be focusing on the debut episode, the first live 2-hour NXT from Full Sail. And what a fantastic show it was. But before we get into all of that detail, just to throw out our usual social media plugs. So if you're on Twitter, you know where to find us, at withjohners_pod. On Instagram, go ahead and find us, Wrestling with Johners. And go ahead and search our ever popular, fun and interactive Facebook community group. Just search Wrestling with Johners, and that's Johners spelled Johners. Of course, if you enjoy listening to this podcast, please don't forget to hit like, subscribe, share and shout about the Wrestling with Johners podcast. This is your only podcast for your weekly NXT UK needs, and we do cover and review all WWE pay-per-views and AEW pay-per-views. We'll be reviewing Wednesday Night Dynamite a little bit in the future as well. You're only podcast for all your all-round wrestling goodness. So please spread the word, tell your friends and tell your family, and help to grow this podcast so that we can continue producing quality content for you guys each and every week. So I just want to apologise for my croaky voice. I do have a bit of a cold, but I'm going to battle through this. All is good otherwise in the world of Wrestling with Johners. So let's have a look at this week's first live 2-hour NXT, and of course hour 1 was on the USA Network, and like I say, it'll be hour 1 on the USA Network next week as well, with hour 2 being on the WWE Network, and then from the 2nd of October it will be going head to head with AEW's Wednesday Night Dynamite, with both hours being shown on the USA Network. So we get an awesome introduction to this week's show from Triple H, with a little video package to highlight some of its many stars. But a great way to start this week's NXT, and a fairly good and energetic introduction to anybody that hasn't seen or had exposure to NXT before, that might be watching for the first time on the USA Network. And the first match we get, no better match and no better way to kick off the first live 2-hour NXT, especially on the USA Network in front of a brand new audience potentially, is the Fatal 4-Way for the women's number 1 contender. So this is Io Shirai, Bianca Belair, Candice LeRae and Mia Yim, and this is for the new number 1 contenders for the NXT Women's Championship. Of course, Shayna Baszler still holding that belt into her second reign. There's an amazing reception for all of those competitors as they come out to the ring, especially Io, who has captured everybody's imagination despite being a heel. She is the heel that the Io that we all wanted and deserved, she's a much better heel than she was a babyface. The crowd are red hot for this match, with Bianca military pressing Candice LeRae high above her head before getting a 2 count from a handspring moonsault. Shirai is outstanding in this match, demonstrating an array of impressive aerial moves, as you would expect from the Empress of the Sky. And in one of the lines of the night, Mauro Ranallo described Io as the Joshi Judas, which was quite an interesting line, but yes, that's Mauro Ranallo for you. Candice LeRae connects with a code breaker off the ring apron. Belair hits a fall-away slam onto the rampway. Mia Yim then delivers a tope suicida. But none of that was as impressive as Io Shirai's moonsault from off the top turnbuckle down onto her foes on the outside. That was an awesome sequence of moves there from all four. There's a huge Tower of Doom spot involving all 4 women in another amazing spot, with Bianca Belair appearing to take the worst of that move. There's so much action, so many high spots in this match. Belair hits her KOD on LeRae, Candice LeRae, only to have the pinfall broken up by Mia Yim. Then, just as Io was about to hit a moonsault to end the match, she's pushed off the top turnbuckle to the outside, allowing Candice LeRae to hit the Poison Rana onto Mia Yim, followed by a Lion Salt, hooking Yim's leg and getting the 1-2-3. So Candice LeRae is our new NXT Women's number 1 contender. yeah, really good match, lots of action. All four women completely delivered in this match. Uh, and yeah, Candice LeRae probably wasn't the favourite to win. I was kind of expecting and hoping that Io Shirai would, but then to have heel versus heel, yeah, that would be an amazing match. But I'm expecting Candice LeRae to possibly pinch the title in a bit of a Johnny Gargano dream fairy tale moment over Shayna Baszler, and to possibly have a kind of a title feud between Candice and Io going forward, but that's a long way off. But as Candice was celebrating on her way back to the locker room, we get an appearance from Baszler, Duke and Shafir as they stare each other down, bringing an end to this awesome segment and an outstanding four-way match. So many high spots, so many close near falls, so many opportunities for all four women. Such a great way to kick off this new era of NXT on the USA Network. And if that didn't have the new viewers on the edge of their seats, then I don't know what will. We will no doubt get a Women's Championship match between Candice and Shayna in the coming weeks. I'm sure we'll hear more about that as the episode progresses. We then get a video package to promote Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic on next week's episode. That will be an amazing match for the USA Network audience. And if there are previous encounters or anything to go by, then next week's match will steal the show. Be prepared to have your mind blown. Then we get a match between Sean Maluda, who's featured on NXT once or twice in the past and was part of the 2015 Cruiserweight Classic. I think it was 2015 we had that, going up against Cameron Grimes. Now, as many of you know, I've been waxing lyrical about Cameron Grimes for many weeks now, especially after his excellent showing on the NXT Breakout Tournament, where he was the losing finalist to Jordan Miles, of course. But here, he gets a chance to shine on the debut episode on the USA Network, of course, and shine he did. Grimes comes out of the corner like a bull in a china shop with a double driving stomp, the first and only move used in this match, hooking the leg of Maluda, gets the easy 1-2-3. This guy is the man, and it's a great sign that he's been given an opportunity to shine on the first ever NXT on the USA Network, demonstrating that NXT and more importantly Triple H have big things in store for this man. The future is definitely looking bright for Cameron Grimes. Then on to the main event of hour one. So quickly, Roderick Strong going up against current North American champion, the Velveteen Dream. So this is Roddy Strong's opportunity to prove that he can become a singles champion in NXT. We know that Strong has had championship success alongside Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish in the tag team ranks, of course, but he's always fallen short when it comes to competing for the NXT championship or the North American championship in singles. In the past, he's tried to capture the North American Championship more recently in that triple threat match in Toronto against Pete Dunne and Dream. And some of you may be thinking, well, when was Roderick Strong in contention for the NXT Championship? Well, for those of you with a really good memory, you will remember that Roddy had a feud not too long after joining NXT a few years back with Bobby Roode, back when Bobby was called was Bobby and not Robert, and back when Bobby was a cocky heel and he was the NXT champion. The Velveteen Dream has held the North American Championship since beating Johnny Gargano a number of months ago. Now, this is a perfect platform for the USA Network for a character, a megastar, dare I say it, such as the Velveteen Dream, and his entrance says it all. Prior to this match, there's plenty of psychological warfare leading into this match, no more so than Roderick Strong setting another man's couch on fire, and that is something you never, ever do, people. That's possibly the most heelish thing I've ever seen anybody do in all my years of watching pro wrestling. What a bastard. And remember, if Strong does manage to defeat Dream in this match, then the Undisputed Prophecy will be fulfilled, with every member of the Undisputed Era being draped in gold. So Strong goes to work in this match straight on Velveteen Dream's lower back, with all manner of backbreakers, as you would imagine from the Messiah of the Backbreaker. This was a red hot match with so much hot action. Dream gets a close near fall from a Dream DT, but Dream gets tied up in the ropes a la Andre the Giant Styly when he used to get his arms tied up in the ropes before Roddy strikes with repeated forearms, and a Tiger Bomb for a very close near fall. Roddy even applies the stronghold with Dream screaming out in agony and only just getting himself to the ring ropes. Then Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish and NXT champion Adam Cole come out to surround the ring. Dream then gets shoved into the referee by Strong, but as Dream hits his Dream Valley driver, he super kicks Bobby Fish off the ring apron, who tries to interfere. Strong connects with a huge backbreaker to get another close near fall from this exchange. Dream hits a second Dream Valley driver and goes to the top turnbuckle, but with the referee still being distracted by Kyle O'Reilly from the outside, Adam Cole gets up onto the ring apron and he super kicks Dream off the ring apron, allowing Strong to hit one more almighty backbreaker at the end of Heartache and gets the eventual pinfall victory to become the new North American champion in this epic dramatic championship match, and thanks in no small part to the Undisputed Era stablemates, of course. And there we have it, a new North American champion to finally fulfill the Undisputed prophecy with all manner of with all members of the Undisputed Era draped in gold. That was a really fun match, and the fans were really into every second of it. It was a really well booked match. Outside interference, the referee distractions, Velveteen Dream being the underdog with the babyface fighting from underneath. I think we all had our suspicions that Cole, Fish and O'Reilly were going to get involved, and they did, of course. That was a really hot match and a hot way to end the first hour of NXT on the USA Network. Before we get to kind of flick the channel over to the WWE Network for Hour 2, and that's exactly how Hour 2 commenced on the WWE Network, with the Undisputed Era on the ramp. All four of them draped in the gold. You had NXT champion Adam Cole, tag team champions Fish and O'Reilly, and of course Roddy Strong, the new NXT North American champion. We're then told that after a win in the number one contenders match in the opening match of the night, we will be seeing Candice LeRae get an opportunity to win NXT Gold against Shayna Baszler in just 2 weeks' time. And remember, as big as the first episode on the USA Network is, or was, the 2nd of October show will be even bigger and even more important, as that will be the first week that both NXT, that both hours of NXT will be airing on the USA Network instead of half and half. But more importantly, that will be the first week that NXT will be going head to head with AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite. Of course, can't wait for that. It will be epic. We get a match between Pete Dunne versus Arturo Ruas. Great to see the Bruiserweight in action on such an important match against Arturo Ruas, who has received a bit of a repackage over the recent months. However, he has been a bit of a jobber to the NXT stars, but given a bit more of a serious edge here with his new gimmick. And this match certainly didn't disappoint between these two. This match starts in a fast and furious fashion, as you would expect, with an armbar transitions and a stiff clothesline from Dunne. So plenty of good transitional work between these two. Dunne performs an elbow stomp, which looked really painful. Ruas gets in some offense here with several roundhouse kicks. The Bruiserweight soon gets back on the upper hand, getting a 2 count from an X-Plex. Ruas gets a close near fall of his own after a kick to the jaw and a bridging German suplex. Then, after getting his opponent onto his back, Pete Dunne does, as only Pete Dunne can, he applies his patented finger snap submission for the victory, and it looks painful and wincing every single time you see that. I really enjoyed this match. It was a very competitive match. It was better than I thought it was going to be going into it, with it ending up being looks like a very competitive match, showing off Arturo Ruas as strong style, you could say. He's kind of martial arts background, his MMA background, but another win for the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne, a good showing for both competitors. It was a tougher match for Pete Dunne than we would like to see or would expect from the Bruiserweight, but it's always good to see him in these competitive matches, because I think you get the best out of Pete Dunne when it goes a little bit longer and when the match is a bit more competitive and a bit more back and forth, and that's certainly what you got here, and a really good match. Go ahead and check that one. This next match was a little bit sloppy. Involved Aaliyah who you probably wouldn't necessarily expect to see on such an important showcase episode against Xia Li. So interesting to see two fairly lower card women on the NXT roster on the first live NXT, but a great platform nonetheless to give these two a much wider audience. However, Xia Li does mess up a jump from the second turnbuckle to the top for an attempted dropkick, landing a little awkwardly. This is live TV, I suppose. There's no editing like they could probably do back in the when all the episodes were taped back to back 4 weeks at a time on a monthly basis. But Xia Li finally puts the match to bed, connects with a tornado kick, hooks the leg and gets the 3 count. And a fairly good recovery after that mess up earlier on, but a win for Xia Li there. Then we get what we think is going to be a match between Kushida and Denzel Dejanette, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. But before this match could even get started, even before Kushida could make his entrance, we got Dejanette in the ring, and then we get this shocking appearance from members of the NXT UK faction Imperium. So in the form of Fabian Eichner, of course, Marshall Bartel, Alexander Wolf, who go on to destroy Dejanette in the ring. Then we get the ever-impressive entrance from the leader of Imperium, WWE United Kingdom champion Walter, to a loud reaction and reception from the fans in Full Sail. Wolf hands Walter the mic, who says that they are Imperium, and to them the mat is sacred. We've heard this so many times before on NXT UK. But here, this is the first time that the Full Sail audience or the NXT audience have seen all 4 members of Imperium together as a group. Walter goes on to say that they are here to restore the honour and the tradition of their sport. Then the time splitter Kushida does come out and comes out and says that this is his time and now their time belongs to him. Kushida manages to dispose of Eichner, Bartal and Wolf, with Walter briefly managing to get his hands on Kushida, but Kushida manages to give Walter the slip, and it appears that we'll be seeing these two in the ring in the coming weeks. I do hope it's not for the UK Championship. That really just needs to be defended, to European or UK talent, in my opinion. People on the NXT UK brand, but fine if it's defended against Kushida. But I hope that Walter retains so that he can continue defending it. It needs to be defended on UK soil, is what I'm trying to say. It needs to be defended on UK soil, not American soil. But that's another match to look forward to. Then we get another really competitive match, and a match that took a lot of people by surprise. A, that it actually took place in the first place, and second, that it was given the time and the respect that it deserved, because it was a fantastic match, and it was another number one contenders match, the second of the night on this very important milestone episode of NXT, and it was a number one contenders match for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. So it pitted only Lorcan and, to everybody's surprise, Lio Rush. So, I'm not sure about the rest of you, but I thought Lio Rush was done with the WWE, especially after his run on the main roster as Bobby Lashley's manager and his unauthorised, unscripted interview, which he did on some internet page, some news sites, essentially disrespecting the WWE system. However, the man of the hour gets a huge welcome back chant from the fans at Full Sail. Lorcan explodes out of the gate as soon as the ring bell goes, getting a 2 count after several running forearms and a spinning net breaker on Rush. Rush nails a handspring back kick, sending Lorcan off the ring apron before connecting with 3 impressive super fast dives through the ropes, taking Lorcan off his feet. This match was performed at an amazing pace from both individuals. Lorcan lays in some vicious forearm uppercuts, with another one sending Rush off the ring apron to the outside. Lorcan gets a close near fall from a gut wrench powerbomb. Lorcan then he's brutal in his attack of Lio Rush, getting another 2 count from a powerful body slam. Then from out of nowhere, Rush connects with a springboard cutter for another close near fall. Lorcan takes advantage of Rush's he tweaked his knee off of a somersault or a backflip off the ropes. Lorcan drops Rush with another powerbomb and a single leg crab, transitioning into an STF, which looked really painful. Rush struggling, but just managing to get to the ropes to break the hold. Then, as Lorcan goes to put an end to his opponent, Rush delivers a Spanish fly from out of nowhere and a Dragon's Call, a frog splash, hook in the leg, and we get a 3 count for Lio Rush as he becomes the new number 1 contender for the Cruiserweight Championship, currently held by Drew Gulak, of course. So this was a really excellent match, and what a comeback for Lio Rush, what can I say? However, credit to Lorcan. We've seen from this guy that he can have a great match with pretty much anybody on the roster, and this was another highlight on the first week of the live NXT. And as discussed in previous episodes of the podcast, we've mentioned how 205 Live roster and the entire Cruiserweight division will be merged with NXT, and this is a great start for that process. However, I do feel for the other Cruiserweights that have been battling it out on 205 Live for all these weeks and months, only to see Lio Rush come back and take their spot to become the new number 1 contender to Drew Gulak's championship. However, having said all of that, Lio Rush has a lot more star power than most of the other cruiserweights put together, and is a star you could push to the very top of the cruiserweight division, in my opinion. Give him the belt. You know, I love Drew Gulak as champion, but like I say, if you're looking for somebody with charisma, with star potential, with talent in the ring, Lio Rush is your man. So he could be a top name of the cruiserweight division and NXT pretty soon. But a really good match here between Oney Lorcan and Lio Rush. Then we get the main event of Hour 2, Matt Riddle versus Killian Dane. This one has been built up over a few weeks, a few months you could say, and after Dane has driven Riddle through the stage, he's even driven Riddle off the staging area, the ramp, at the last takeover in Toronto in August. I don't think they've had a proper match, to be honest with you. It's all been kind of impromptu brawls. So this was scheduled, I believe, as their first proper match. I know that I think they possibly had a match on NXT a few weeks ago, which ended up in the car park and a right old brawl that kind of led to this street fight here. So this might be, the rematch, I suppose. However, the match here in this case didn't take too long to get going, with the match soon going to the outside pretty quick. There's kendo stick shots from Dane as they brawl through the arena. Dane even hits a senton on Matt Riddle while Matt Riddle was laying on the cold, hard concrete flooring, so that looks pretty painful. The match heads backstage and even to the outside area, with Riddle getting thrown against the side of a truck. We see the Forgotten Sons, and we even see WWE Champion Walter, who gets involved. This then sparks an all-out brawl with wrestlers from the back coming out to the ringside area, in a scene that might be more familiar with the old ECW arena, let alone the Full Sail crowd or the NXT arena, as they was describing it here. But the match didn't even have a conclusion. So Matt Riddle was fighting with other wrestlers on the outside, while Dane was fending off wrestlers on the inside of the ring. The show goes off the air with Killian Dane launching himself through the ropes with a huge dive onto a group of wrestlers in what can only be described as a bit of chaotic scenes to finish off the first ever live NXT. So I'm under the impression that we'll get another match between these two on next week's show, and I hope that it's not one match too many, as we've yet to see a proper finish between these two. So I don't want people to start getting bored of this feud with all these non-finishes and wild brawls. It's good. This is good fun. It's entertaining. But I do want to see a conclusion, and hopefully we'll get that next week. So remember, the next week's show will also feature Keith Lee versus Dominik Dijakovic, and so much more. So, what did I think of this week's first 2-hour live NXT? It was a lot of fun. There were plenty of matches to get your teeth into and lots of action. The women's four-way to kick things off was an excellent match, highlighting 4 of the best NXT has to offer. Definitely, without a doubt. I enjoyed the Lio Rush Oney Lorcan match. That was a clash of styles, but really worked for me, really worked in the ring. There was opportunities for talent such as Walter, Pete Dunne, Kushida and Cameron Grimes to get some TV time on this very important, special, groundbreaking episode of NXT. But the true highlight of the 2 hours has to be the match between Roderick Strong and the Velveteen Dream, with the Strong claiming the North American Championship to finally fulfill the Undisputed Prophecy, having all 4 members of the Undisputed Era draped in gold. So it was a really successful episode of NXT, I thought. It's fast-paced, lots of action, plenty of matches, so lots to get your teeth into, and I hope it's that they can keep up this momentum and energy for the weeks and months to come, and especially as we get closer to the debut of AEW's weekly show. which is going to be going head to head with NXT. NXT, of course, is going to be going to the USA Network for the full 2 hours from the 2nd of October, which is where AEW's Wednesday Night Dynamite will be debuting. And it'll be interesting to see if NXT can keep up the momentum. I'm sure they will. And I think Candice LeRae versus Shayna Baszler has been advertised for that show already. And we know that AEW have already stacked up the card for that debut episode of Wednesday Night Dynamite in a couple of weeks' time. But that is my kind of short and sharp, blink and you miss it episode of the Wrestling with Johners podcast. So let us know what you thought of the first ever NXT on the USA Network, the first 2-hour live episode in the comments or on the Facebook group. Let us know what you think on our Twitter page or on our Instagram. Yeah, a really good way to kick things off for live NXT. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Can't wait for next week's episode. In the meantime, please keep it tuned to the Wrestling with Johners podcast for all of your weekly NXT and NXT UK updates, our WWE pay-per-view reviews, AEW pay-per-view reviews, the occasional Progress and New Japan review as well. There's so much more in between. And if you've enjoyed listening to this episode, please don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple iTunes. Please don't forget to spread the word, tell your friends and tell your family, and let's get even more people listening to the Wrestling with Johners podcast. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on whatever podcast platform you're listening on so that you get notified when a new episode drops. And if you're seeing any of our posts on social media, please don't forget to kind of share on Twitter or on Facebook and retweet on Twitter so that other people can know that you've enjoyed this episode and get more of your friends and family kind of tuned into the Wrestling with Johners podcast and listen to us on a weekly basis. But yes, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on a single episode, people. I'm going to try and drop another quick, short and sharp episode to cover this week's NXT UK sometime over the weekend. Got a wedding to go to tomorrow, so I know all of my weekend is going to be, most of my weekend is going to be tied up with the wedding. But if I get time on Sunday when I get back, I'll look to record another quick episode of NXT UK. Just to recap this week's show on the WWE Network, of course. But we'll be back to our usual schedule next Friday. We'll be covering next week's episode of NXT, 2 hours, and NXT UK will be joined by Kieran Reid, where he'll also be updating us on his Progress adventures. He was at the Electric Ballroom and Ali Pali last Saturday and Sunday, watching Progress, and especially the Sunday show Still Chasing, with the advertised main event being Walter versus David Starr, and Matt Riddle and Keith Lee teaming up to take on Moustache Mountain. So much top talent. It was an absolutely stacked card, and can't wait for Kieran to tell us all about that on next week's show. But in the meantime, have yourself a great weekend. Hopefully the weather stays good for this wedding, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please don't forget to shout about it, share and subscribe. But in the meantime, have yourself a great weekend and catch up with you all again soon.